Peymon. I am the president of Freedom Law School in Phelan in San Bernardino County, California. And this is the continuation of our class on how to use the law library. Now, many of you watching this video or listening to this CD audio are students of Freedom Law School, and this is a continuation of your studies with us. This subject being on how to use the law library. Some of you are only looking or listening to this video audio CD for the purposes of learning how to use a law library. In either case, when you're done with this section of the program, you'll be able to go to any law library in America and find whatever you want for yourself in a law library. If somebody gives you a court citation, a code to look up, or any other kind of a legal claim that people make, whether it's a quote you saw on internet, somebody claims that, no matter what it is, you can go to a law library and read it by finding it first. You can find it and read it for yourself to see if it says that or not. We will also give you tips today on how to use the law library for other uses, like if you need to fill out some forms to some kind of legal problem that you might have, where to find those kind of forms for yourself and help yourself. Do it the same way that the lawyers do. So you'll get some familiarity with the how to do forms that are available. We'll spend a short amount of time also on how to use the computer on using the law library, whether you are using the computer at your home or at the law library. But we're going to focus most on a traditional law library like here. This program is being recorded in the Orange County Law Library in Santa Ana, California, with the permission of the library. And so if you are from the Orange County area, this particular program will be of special use to you, because this library is a very good one. I happen to like, and I think if you do happen to use it, you can get a lot of good use out of it. So I'll be showing you what these books look like first. And as I show you what the book looks like, those of you watching this on video will have a better time than, of course, those of you listening to us on CD or audio tape. I will describe what these books are, what's contained in them, and then before moving on to the next one. Now, last session of Freedom Law School class that you listened to or watched, we went through some citations, some legal citations, what they are. You learned these things, and your homework was just to get familiar with these citations. What's a U.S. report, for example? What's a California reporter? What's a Cal App? What's a USC? What's a CFR? We're going to go over those things again so that you'll have another level of review of hearing these words, because once you get to know these most about a dozen or so key initials or abbreviations, you have it pretty much licked. From then onward, if you need to look something for yourself in the law library, you have an easy time. And if you know how to use a traditional library, then if you want to look things up on internet or through your computer or on CD, you'll have an even easier time. You know the basics of what the law library is and the law book is. The only difference being on internet or CD on your computer is that rather than pulling up books off the shelves, you just look at it on some database of some sort. Okay, let's start from the very beginning. I'm going to move back now and show you what these law books are, and I'm going to move down the line to more specific ones. The first one I'm going to show you is the United States Statutes at Large. The United States Statutes at Large contains the statutes or laws of the federal government. Okay, this is the volume 1 of it. Now, by the way, one thing I want to show you in all law books, just about all of them, the main thing is what's written on the spine of the book. Very often you find law books on the very front of them, like this one, there's nothing at all. Nothing in the front or back is printed. Because law books, remember this please folks, as I said before, they're only reference manual, like dictionaries. Nobody ever reads a dictionary from cover to cover. Same thing with law books. So these law books are in the walls of the bookshelf, sitting there one after another. And you can see on the spine of the book what it is. They all are designed to have a specific color and pattern design, as well as type, style of print on there, to help you identify one from the other. This particular one, the color is tan. There is a red area of writing at the top with a black area at the bottom. Okay, this is by authority of the Congress of the United States. It's been printed, of course. Okay, and then with the writing is in gold writing. Now, so here are all the statutes, for example. Statutes are printed in a chronological order from the date that they were published. Okay, one after another. This particular one has all the statutes that the federal government wrote, starting with the very first year that any statutes were written. Of course, this contains the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, as well as the so-called Bill of Rights. And the first session of Congress in 1789, those acts are here, and all the way up to 1799. In first 11 years that the Congress of the United States was in business, in this one book, all the statutes or laws that the federal government passed fits in here. Why do I mention that? Because I want to step back in a moment and I get you a more current statutes at large to show you how much more laws the federal government is writing every year for us to live on. This is not too bad. If one book contains all the laws that the government wrote in 11 years, you can pretty much find what you want if you want to. But I'm going to show you now a more recent version of the United States statutes at large. Here we have United States statutes at large, okay, 105th Congress, second session, 1998. This is only one of 5 books that contain all the statutes that the Congress of the United States wrote in 1 year alone. Here you have one book for 11 years. All the laws I wrote fit in here, and this is merely about less than 3 months. And here we have so much more. No wonder we have too much laws, too much control. There's no way any of us can keep track of all this. It's too voluminous. So, as we mentioned to you before, when these statutes got large and be too voluminous over the years, they were categorized and reduced into codes. But before I come to that, let me share with you that this is volume 112, okay, part 4, pages 2681 through 2786 of the public laws, okay. So these statutes are not very often looked at or used by anybody. Why? Because statutes, when there's so much of them, remember this is for 1998, the actual in the bookshelf for 1998 is from here all the way up to here. Okay? It's just way too much for anybody to keep track of if you want to look something up. So these laws, after the Civil War, the War of the States, a committee of Congress got together and formed a committee to do an overwhelming review and rewriting of all of these statutes, and with a table of contents and with a subject matter, okay? And these subject matter recodification, as it's called, or codification means categorizing. these categorizations, as I'll show you right now, was put together in the United States Code. Here is the United States Code 1994 edition, published by the U.S. government itself. By the way, many of the law books are not published by the government. They rarely are published by the government themselves. About the only thing that the governments usually publish themselves is perhaps the statutes or the codes, and that's about it. After that, pretty much everything else usually is published by private companies. Now here it is again. On the spine is where the main thing is. You got a burgundy book. Okay, tells you United States Code 1994 edition. This one is Title 26, the famous Internal Revenue Code. Okay, there's 50 titles or categories of federal law. Title 26 is on the Internal Revenue Code or the tax laws. Title 27 relates to alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and the remaining other taxes, is in Title 26. This is only sections, however, is 1 through 1,000. The rest of it, from 1,001 to the end, is in another book. This is just the statutes by themselves. As you can see, even with all the small print, even though with everything being double-sided printing, it's quite a bit of a pages. Here we have over 1,000 pages already in this one book alone. Now, statutes, the codes are very useful, because if you want to know what the law is, you read it in the code book. And you're going to find that codes, by the way, are easily available on internet. Websites like findlaw.com, write that down please, www.findlaw.com, and others provide you the codes, the laws of the states, very easily, for free on internet. However, the problem is that the codes cannot cover every particular situation to apply that to. So courts have to apply that law to the particular circumstances of a situation to make sure that it's properly interpreted and applied, because there's no way a lawmaker can completely plan out and think of everything before they write the statute. So there's certain things that in no statute can completely cover, and it's left up to the courts. However, there is a great number of laws out there, codes, that require regulation to complete them, as we shared with you in our last class of Freedom Law School. Those regulations are published in the Federal Register. And the Federal Register is all of these regulations that the executive branch puts in place for execution of the statutes are there. Remember, again, as we covered before, the codes or the statutes are self-executing. They are good by themselves, unless the legislature specifically states that the regulations need to be put in place to complete it. The Federal Register puts all the proposed statutes in place. So that, and that proposed as well as being ratified, published here for you are given notice of that. This is all the regulations on Friday, December 28, 2001. That's been proposed by the federal government. Every day of the week, a book about the size of this comes out just like this, proposing all the regulations and finalizing them after a period of comment and review by the public and feedback by the public before they're finalized. And these books are legal notice to you that this is the law, that it might be affecting you. You and I have a legal duty to know all of this stuff. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. All this small print double-sided with all the footnotes, you and I gotta know it all. And then they codify this in the Code of Federal Regulation. The Code of Federal Regulations, the abbreviation for it is CFR. Again, that might be confusing for some of you. It doesn't stand for Council on Foreign Relations, but the Code of Federal Regulations. This is the book published by the United States government, Code of Federal Regulations. Okay, it's published quarterly by the government. However, again, you could find this on the internet for free at findlaw.com. Go there; they'll get you to other places. And on the spine again, you see the key information. 26 CFR Part 1.61 to 1.69. Just that little part of the IRS code, folks, regulations, has all these pages of regulation that goes with it. The regulations typically of any law are about twice as thick as the statutes and the codes themselves. So, unfortunately, the lawmakers don't make it easy for us. They have, in my opinion, unconstitutionally have given lawmaking powers to the executive branch of the government in effect. So now we have to know the code as well as the regulations. The version that the government publishes here, the color of it is changed every quarter when they come with the new ones. Okay, but remember, the codes and the regulations are easily found on the internet. Okay, and that's a very good source for you to use to find the codes and the regulations by going to the internet. The other things that are easy to find on the internet are the court cases. Some of them are easier than others. Now I'm going to show you the first one, the U.S. Supreme Court cases. The U.S. Supreme Court cases are published by the U.S. government in the United States Reports. This is volume 465 as an example that I took out. October term 1983. In other words, in a period of just 3 months, all these court cases were decided by the 9-man U.S. Supreme Court. They are very overworked, folks. They cannot get to all the cases. They hear less than 1% of all the cases that come to them. And all the court cases are published one after another chronologically. Okay? Again, here's an example of one. For example, this is a case of Migra versus Warren City School District Board of Education et al. Et al. Means and other defendants. Okay? Certiorari to the United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit. It came through the Sixth Circuit Federal Court of Appeal. Okay, here's a summary of the decision, what it said. Okay, the conclusion at the bottom, that's what's held, and then the case right there, opinion of the court, follows after that. Okay, so this page is on page 75 of this volume. Case of Migra versus Warren City School District Board of Education would be 465 U.S. 75. However, if there was a quote or part of it that was on page 83, then you would say 465 U.S. 75, comma 83. And on page 83, that comment that you mentioned would be found. That's how you mention that. So people, when they give you court cases, you want to go look it up again and read it for yourself to make sure it actually says those words. And then after it does say those words, you want to at least scan the court case, make sure it's in context, and if necessary, read the entire court case. Sometimes it's not possible to read the entire court case. The court case is too long, it's not relevant to what you have in mind, okay, or maybe not useful at all, or completely off base. So sometimes by just reading the quotes might be enough, sometimes reading that page might be enough, sometimes reading the page and scanning the rest of the case might be enough. The summary is very useful at the very beginning, and sometimes you have to read the whole book. This one is published by the U.S. government. However, there are two other versions that are published by private companies that attempt to do a better job than the U.S. government at putting these court cases together and bring them to you in a better format. The first one is the Supreme Court Reporter. Okay, this is published by West Publishing. West is the largest publisher of legal books in America. Here it is, Supreme Court Reporter. The color scheme you see is olive with black stripes in the bottom, red stripes at top, with gold writing on it. Okay, so the Supreme Court Reporter by West, you can always tell West's publication books because they have a key on there, the key system that they have on there. It's actually a useful system. I haven't used it myself, but I'm told it's actually fairly useful out there. Okay, the abbreviation for that is SCT. Okay, Supreme Court Reporter. Okay, remember, this is an unofficial version. The official version always is the one that's either is published by the government or is licensed or sanctioned by the U.S. government. If you found a difference between these two books, what they say, the official version is the one that will be the one that you got to go by. This particular one, for example, what they have done in this book, in Supreme Court Reporter, they printed in 2 columns. Okay, also the lines are closer together. They've done that so you have to fit more court cases in one book. Originally, the publishers of these unofficial versions did this because they could put more court cases in less number of books, less number of papers. Therefore, cost you less to pay because less paper they have to print on. They could offer to you at a better price. Also, the private publishers often would publish these books quickly, these law books, because before they're publishing books like this, they're published in soft-bound pamphlets first, and then 2, 3, 4 years later, then they are put into these hard books. That's right, they're slow. When the U.S. government takes perhaps 4 years to put them in a book form like this, a private company might take only 2 years to do so. Okay, so this is only one of the unofficial reporters of the decisions of the U.S. Supreme Court. The other one is United States Supreme Court Reports by Lawyers edition. Okay, this also has a similar color olive background. Okay, this one is volume 15. The other one I was referring to earlier was volume 114 of the Supreme Court Reporter. Sometimes these law books, even the pattern on them makes them look similar to each other. Okay, so you got to be careful. You got to read actually the wording, what it says. United States Supreme Court Reports and Supreme Court Reporter sound pretty similar. You might be on the in the law library looking up the book and you think, gee, how come the court case is not there? That's because you probably got the wrong book. Okay, and it's not on that page because you got the wrong book. So be sure that you pay attention. Make sure you get the right set of books that you're looking up. Okay, this one of the Supreme Court Reports is volume 15, second edition. The citation for that is L period ED 2D period 2D. L period ED period 2D. Lawyers edition, okay, second. Because after a number of series went up to a certain number, they started a whole new edition, second edition or third edition. They could do that, and they do that for various reasons to improve the way they put the court cases written in there, maybe the spacing or whatever other reason might be there. So this is the second edition, and also that's another thing to look for to make sure you are finding the right court case and not making a mistake. If you got the right citation, volume number 15 of the United States Supreme Court Reports, but you missed the second edition, you could be in the law library looking for the book and the page of your court case, and it's not there because you forgot about the second edition and you got the wrong set of book there. So do pay attention to that as well, that you got yourself the right book. Next, I'm going to show you the the Federal Courts of Appeals books. The Federal Courts of Appeals books, court cases, are published in the Federal Reporter. This is the Federal Reporter second series. Again, a similar olive-looking background. This is volume 838. Okay, this is published by West Publishing Company. So the Federal Reporter, this particular one is the second series, volume number 838. Again, because this is published by West, it does have the key symbol on there also. Okay, the Federal Reporter is, in my opinion, a very important set of books. Perhaps one of the most important, because very often you will not find cases on point in the U.S. Supreme Court level. Okay, you'll find on-point cases at the Federal Court of Appeal level, because remember, there are 12 different Federal Circuit Courts of Appeal, and there's one Supreme Court only of the United States. So you're going to find more recent cases on point about your particular case, especially if it's a federal case like the IRS, for example. At the federal level, at the state level, at the U.S. Supreme Court level, the same court case would be maybe 40 years old, and perhaps not exactly on point. Okay, you will find that on the and you want, of course, want to get things at your own Federal Court of Appeal level. If you're on the West Coast, you're on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, for example, then you want to use Ninth Circuit cases as much as possible. If you're in Texas, you're in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal, you want them from your own Circuit Court of Appeal as much as possible. But the other ones are useful and influential as well. Now here you'll notice that again, there's two columns here produced of writing here. Okay. Now the funny thing is that West is the only publisher of these kind of books, and there is no official version of the Federal Courts of Appeal decisions. This is it. So it's a semi-official, unofficial one. The federal government just kind of left it up to whoever, including West, to pick it up. And West is the main one doing it, getting these court cases, although everybody can as well. Now the next set of law books I'm going to show you is for the U.S. District Court cases, selected U.S. District Court cases, and others like Court of Claim decisions, others that might be of interest. Sometimes even tax court. This is the Federal Supplement. Okay. Notice that the Federal Supplement and the Federal Reporter look very similar. This is very easy to mistake, but the names are different. Okay. This one is volume 802 of the Federal Supplement. Again, selected U.S. District Court decisions, because there are so many district courts in the United States with so many decisions that many of their decisions cannot be published at all. There's not enough room. It's way too voluminous. So the judges decide which ones are important enough, new issues of interest that no one has looked at before, what they call cases of first impression. And they put those decisions in the Federal Supplement for you to see. Okay? Now, we just went through the court cases as well as the codes. What I'm going to show you now is where they come together. The most useful part is that you're going to find the court cases that explain and interpret those statutes or codes that apply to your particular kind of a situation. At the federal level, the most commonly used ones are United States Code Service by Lawyers Service or Lawyers Edition, and the other one is United States Code Annotated, okay, by West Publishing. You can notice the coloring. The United States Code Service is black background with blue and gold, and that's USCS for short. Whereas The West USCA, United States Code Annotated, is burgundy with gold writing on it. Personally, I like the United States Code Service, USCS, better. I think I like the organization better. It's a little bit more readable. But West has more lawyers buying from them, and they have a lot of other stuff, and they refer you to their own books. Anyhow, this particular book here, USCS, and remember, annotation refers, by the way, to, as I've spoken before, about listing of court cases about the code section that you're speaking about, and other resource material. Here we have, this is the 2000 version of this USCS, Internal Revenue Code, section 6801 through end of Title 26, the Internal Revenue Code. Okay. For each of these codes that's listed here, for each section, there's a whole lot of statutes, court cases that interpret them. I'll give you an example. Okay. Here's section 7214 of the IRS Code. Offenses by officers and employees of the United States. They mean the IRS agents. Unlawful acts of revenue officers or agents. The actual code itself is only half a page long. However, after that, they give you history, ancillary laws and directives. Okay, background of this this statute, this code section. What are the previous versions of it? How has it changed over the decades and years? Gives you code of federal regulations that refer to it. They give you cross references to other laws that of our interest are related to it, perhaps. They give you a research guide listing, federal procedures and other AMJUR and annotations, other law books that give you more detailed information about this code section, how it was interpreted, treated, and applied in different situations. And then it gives you the most important part, interpretive notes and decisions. Here you have the interpretive notes and decisions of court cases. Okay, what they do is that they list court cases in a summary about this law. Okay, so for example, here there's actually in 19 different categories. Okay, 1 through 19 categories of court cases about the subject of offenses by the employees of the United States. First one is generally. Second one is constitutionality. Third is definition of terms. Number 10, for example, is conspiracy. Number 11 is damages. Number 12 is election of offenses. Okay, so they even categorize these court cases by different aspects of the law, different that they talk about, and then they list them all one by one. And each of them is maybe anywhere from 3 to 10 lines that they summarize the main aspect or relevant aspect of the court case to this code section. So you see where it applies. For example, definition of terms. Here it says, word extortion is used in its common law meaning as designating crime committed by officer made under color of his office in taking money or thing of value unlawfully or corruptly for his own advantage. This is a case of United States versus Deaver, 1882, case, 14 Fed 595 is the citation for that. Okay, so now you want to know what this extortion word means? Okay, exactly in detail. This is a summary of it right here. But if you go look up this U.S. versus Deaver case at 14 Fed 595, a Federal Court of Appeal decision, then that's going to give you much more detail about this. You can read the entire court case if you want about that. So all these annotations about this itself, okay, takes another 2 pages roughly. Okay, so that's why these books are so useful. Okay, I haven't used a set of these books myself. Okay, new ones are expensive, several $1,000s. In fact, these days you cannot get them on paper, are disappearing more and more. They're gradually going to available only on CD for a few $100s, $200 to $300 a month or more. These kind of things are made available to you on CD, and you get a newer CD on a regular basis. This one is the USDA by West. Again, similar kind of thing. Similar organization they got. And by the way, at the end of these books, what they do, they have a pocket edition. You see, this particular version of the USCA by West, let's look here. It tells you in the very beginning of it, when you open it up, that this was copyrighted in 1988. Okay? This book originally was printed in 1988. So every year when the new court cases comes out, or the codes or statutes are changed or modified, what are you going to do? Well, you need to go to the back of the book, the pocket side. There's a room here for a pocket edition. There's a pocket edition goes in here, and they list any and all changes that would be happening in this book. Again, this all categorized, the pocket edition itself, listed by code section one after another, and annotations one after another are listed here. And every year, this pocket book, the new version comes out, and the old one is thrown out, and the new one gets to be put in here. Okay, so I'll put this back here in this book. So when you look up something, okay, you look it up in the book itself first, and then take a look in the section at the very end to make sure that the law hasn't been changed in any way, or perhaps some new court cases about that issue have come up that would be useful for you. Okay, so you want to go ahead and look it up. These are very, very useful. If you look stuff up in USCA, USCS, right off the bat, okay, they do a lot of your research work for you already. Very, very handy. I recommend, if you can, get either one of these sets of books, have at your home. Each of them has only about 100 books on a bookshelf. They look pretty on the wall and useful. And even if yours is a few years old, so what? 99% of the time, nothing has changed. And you're not really missing much by not having the newest book. Better than having nothing. Of course, the new ones are always better, but you can pick up a used set of these law books for like maybe only $200-$300. Okay, that's pretty inexpensive to have all the federal laws handy right there in your home. Not just about the IRS, but about the entire 50 categories of laws of the United States. Okay, the next book I'm going to be showing you is the tax court cases. Tax court cases are reported in the United States Tax Reports. This is published by the federal government. Okay, this is volume number 90. Okay, however, the funny thing is, we found out that the government sometimes does not publish court cases that are adverse to the government, that the government lost, that they rather have people know. I should find out about it myself. The more complete job is done by private publishers, like U.S. tax cases published by Commerce Clearinghouse, or CCH for short. That's the abbreviation that's listed there, Commerce Clearinghouse. U.S. tax cases. This is volume 2000-2. For the year 2000, 2 volume of books came out, and this is the second volume, the second half. Okay, so if you're dealing with taxes, for example, you can find tax court cases listed here, one after another. And here the way they list them is by page number. This one is page 85,361. They start from way back then, page 1, 2, 3, 10, 100,000. Now we're close to 100,000 pages of tax court cases. Okay, it's going to be in the hundreds of thousands pretty soon. So if you're dealing with taxes and tax court, these are the books that you want to look for. Also, sometimes the U.S. tax cases might have U.S. District Court cases that apply, or federal courts of claims cases. Now we're going to move on to the California. I'm going to use California only as an example for you. First of all, many of you watching this video are in California, and this is going to be specific to you. But even if you're not from California, the states use a similar kind of a book looks and program, like the federal government. This is Deering's California codes. All the codes of California are here published by category. Remember, California also does have statutes, thick and voluminous like the federal government. And all states also have statutes, just like the federal government. But nobody hardly uses the statutes or looks the statutes out by themselves. They're rarely usable. So what you want to look for is the codes. Okay, now the codes, again, if you want to look up the statute, they tell you what the statute is in there, and you can look up the statute itself if you need to. But the code is the main thing you want. Now in California, the titles or categories of the statutes are named. This one is, for example, the vehicle code. There's actually several different volumes, okay, of the vehicle code. This is only one of them. This is section 23100 through 34499. This is only part of it. Okay. This other particular one, this other sets of books, is West Annotated California Codes. Okay, this is by West again. And this particular one is the Revenue and Taxation Code, okay, section 28001 through the end of the Revenue and Taxation Code. There's actually several different books of Revenue Taxation Code. This is the last part of them that's in here. And again, very similar to the federal version. You have they're categorized by name, Revenue Taxation Code, Vehicle Code, whatever it might be. And you have the code section listed there, and then the code section listed there with annotations afterwards at the end of it. Okay? And then you have the pocket supplement also at the very back of it. Okay? Any changes, modifications in the law listed in there. Make sure you check the pocket supplement at the very end to make sure there's no changes in there. Okay? Now the codes of California also, again, you find them for free, available on the internet at Find Law and other places. The states and the federal government publish their own codes and regulations on their own websites also available. Anybody can get a court case or code or regulation and publish it. Nobody owns it. It's public material. Anybody can copy it and sell it if you want to, or give it away. It's completely up to you. But you cannot copyright it. However, the research that these companies do, that Deering does, for example, and West does, okay, in doing these annotated code books, USCA, USCS, and these, but the part that they bring all the court cases, summarize them for you and list them there, categorize them, tell you what regulations apply, list the other law books that relate to the subject. That kind of research, which takes a lot of time and a team of lawyers to do that work. Okay, that part is their private work and is copyrightable. Okay, but it's very, very useful books that you'll find. Okay, so you can also get some of these codes, like Penal Code, the criminal laws of California, Civil Code, Civil Procedure. Some of the more common books, you can find them and get them by themselves alone without the annotations. Okay, and if you want to get those by themselves for $20, $30 or so, that's fine. They are better than nothing. Although you can get them on internet for free. However, the annotated code books are very useful. I do have the California Deering codes myself at my home because it's very handy, useful to have. Someone tells me there's a law says such and such and such. I tell them, hold on a second. I go right there to my law books, pull up the right one, open up the page, and say, okay, I can read the law. It says so and so and so and so. Okay, it makes very, very handy to be able to do so on yourself. Again, for a few $100, $200, $300, $400, you can probably get a used version of these. Lawyers get rid of these books because they're going on CD only. So some bookstores, like the one in Orange County called the Law Bookstore in Anaheim, they can pick them up for free practically, just to help the lawyer get rid of them. They pick them up, and for a few $100s, they sell them to individuals who might be interested. So I recommend you consider doing that. The next book that I'm going to show you is the California Reports. California Reports contains the decisions of the California Supreme Court. This is the volume 7 of it. Okay, again, you notice the gold background with black bar on the bottom and red at the top. Okay, and this was 1857. Okay, way back then they used the name of the clerk of the court. This one was Burayam. By clerk of the court they called it, but now they've been numbered since then. For example, the citation for this book is 7C. Okay, or 7 Cal. And I tell you, this particular one, on the very first page of it, 7C1, is the case of Billings versus Hall, which is a great case about the proper power and duties of the legislature and the limits that they have on that. I highly recommend, if you're interested to learn about the proper role of government in America, to read this California Supreme Court case of Billings versus Hall, 7C1. This will be a good exercise for you if you're from California or other states, if they do have the book in your county law library, to look up some of these court cases. Go get your favorite book that you bought in the freedom movement or on internet, or a friend of yours, or someone showed you on the law library. When they give you a citation, look it up. I think you'll have fun by doing so. Now, originally, these California cases are published in these small books. Okay, the size of them was small. However, remember, back in 1850s and 60s, California's population was very small. There was very few court cases. There was not even any courts of appeal. From the Superior Court of the state, or back then it was called District Court, decisions from the trial court went to the Supreme Court level. Now we have courts of appeal in California. But as time went on, then they had to get thicker books and longer books to accommodate the larger number of decisions that they were putting out. Here is the California Reports, the newer version of that. This is California Reports, 3rd series. They came up with 2nd series, 3rd series. This is the 4th series, volume 11. This particular one is. Okay. Notice the one that have 2nd or 3rd series have this bar area that they put the 2nd or 3rd series on them for you to see. This is for your 1974. This is not the only book for 1974. This was one of several that they came out in year 1974. And here what they did is, again, use bigger paper, okay, so they can put more in there, and also the book got thicker. With a bigger book, you can have more pages on there as well. Okay, I'm going to move on from this now, from California Reports, to the California Appellate Reports. And the citation, by the way, for California Reports is C1. For California Appellate Reports, 3rd series is Cal 3rd. Okay, I'm sorry, Cal 3D. Okay, again, you have that in your material. The next book, the California Appellate Reports, is right here. This is the California Courts of Appeal decisions published here. Similar, again, coloring a background, tan, and then the red, the red and the black that you have as the California Reports. But this is California Appellate Reports. Don't mix this up with California Reports. That could be easily mixed up. Okay? And otherwise, everything is pretty much the same. Okay? California Appellate Reports. Let's see. Here we go. Sorry. California Appellate Reports is this one. Okay? This is volume 189, 2nd series. Okay? They were using smaller size. By the time they get to 4th edition, California, they made the books bigger, number one, okay, and thicker because they were having more decisions. And they changed the coloring on the spine from red to blue because it was so confusing that the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd series all had the red stripe. So they changed the color here to blue to help you distinguish them better. That's what they've done. But other states might have similar kind of colorization schemes, but just look for it carefully. If you're not sure about it, always feel free to ask the law librarian. They'll be happy to help you. This course will give you plenty of understanding about using the law library. But if you do not understand the rest, now you can have an intelligent conversation with a law librarian who will be more than happy to help you. That's their job, to help you find things that you're looking for. However, they're used to dealing with lawyers that know what they're looking for, but if you know some basics of legal research like this, you know as much as most lawyers. Believe it or not, you probably know more than lawyers coming out of regular law schools. I have students of mine who are gone to regular law schools and they do not know how to do legal research. They do not know how to look up California Deering's codes or United States codes annotated or USCS. They don't know how to do that. You already do. So take advantage of that. Okay. Now we're going to move on to West California Reporter. This is, again, a private company, West, publishing California decisions, court cases in here. Remember, California Appellate Reports had California Courts of Appeal decisions in it. California Reports had California Supreme Court. Well, here, West California Reporter has a Supreme Court and a Court of Appeal decisions both together in one book. Okay? That's the way they chose to do it. And here, West prefers to use a 2-column approach to write down things. And that's probably the main difference between these two. Also, they are from the Appellate Division of the Superior Court, Courts of California, published their decisions in the back of the California Appellate Reports. Okay. However, here, if there are Superior Courts Appellate decisions have decisions, it will be printed here as well. In the West California Reporter, it would all be there in one place. Cases like traffic ticket appeals, they go from municipal or superior court to the appellate division of the superior court. Those kind of cases are done right here, published would be here in case there are some of those. Some of you might be wondering if California has regulations. Yes, it does. Some states, also their by law, they have regulations for certain things. This is California Codes of Regulations published by Barclays. Okay, this is when it comes to the area of public revenues. Okay, not very useful. I've never had an occasion or a need to look up California regulations on things. Very rarely, but it's available. So some states, their statutes or codes do have regulations as well, and some of them do not. Now, you might be needing to look up the laws of another state, or you happen to be from a small state like Montana or North Dakota. States with small populations, although I'm sure their publishers that publish the law books of that state, some small states, it might be more difficult to find the law books that publish that state's court cases only. You'll find publishers like West publish several court cases of the states in one book. This is the Pacific Reporter. Has the decisions of the several western states, including California, published here in this book. There's a Southern Reporter, Southeastern Reporter, Northeastern Reporter. There are various ones about various geography of the United States. Several states' decisions are published in one book. This is for the Pacific region of the country, volume 961, second series. Again, look, West has a key, okay, on its books, and the coloring pattern often, again, the olive background with red and black could be deceiving. So be sure that you read what on the spine says. Make sure you get the right set of book that you are referring to. Now what I showed you folks, is the basic bread and butter when you want to look up stuff. If anybody tells you to look up something, they mention a law, almost always, most often, it's either a code, regulation, or a court case. Most likely a court case or code, not regulation as much. And in these books that I showed you, if you're in California, you can find them. If you're in federal laws are same across the state, you can find them. And if you're not from California, go to your law library and then ask them, what is this books that publish our state's court decisions? Supreme Court of our state or Court of Appeal. If you have a citation you don't understand what it is, tell the law library, this is a citation I got. Where do I find these set of books, and what are they? Is that our state's court cases or another state? They'd be more than happy to help you. That is part of their job. There are other research tools, however, available to you if you want to go further. But if you go no further than this, you're still doing fine. By now, you have gotten the ability to know what the law books look like, okay, what the citations are, and go look them up, pull them up, and then open them up to the right page and read them. Folks, they're not that difficult to read. If you have a decent 9th grade education, you can read and understand this stuff. Look, I'm an immigrant from Iran. I came to America when I was 14. English is my second language, and I could master this stuff. Most of you watching this video were born and raised in the United States, and English is your first language. You can master this stuff a lot easier, a lot sooner than I have. So please do it. Some of the research tools that are available to you, I'm going to show you, are these sets of books. And remember, law books usually come in sets. And in a little bit, we're going to go and I'm going to put these books back on the shelves, show you where the books go, to see what it looks like. This is Corpus Juris Secundum. Okay, Corpus Juris Secundum is a book. It's an encyclopedia of law. From A to Z, it gives you court cases about that issue. Okay, this particular one, volume number 40, is from highways 175 to homicide 175. Highways to homicide. I mean, everything is alphabetically there. Again, like a dictionary. This book sits there on your bookshelf or in the law library until about that particular thing you have something to look up, you look it up. The abbreviation for this one is CJS. Okay? Corpus Juris Secundum. Okay? Now here, for example, on highways, okay? When you look up these books, you have a page, there's an essay written about this particular subject, okay, on this page. And at the bottom, and then as you read the essay, there is numbers appears, like here's a number 10 there, okay? And this sentence is backed up by 10. What is that 10 over there? Well, number 10 is actually in the bottom of the page, okay? It actually gives you the full court case that was your authority for the 10 right up here. After all, what did that sentence say? The general right of the public to use the highways does not carry with it the right to use a highway as a place of business for gain. Citations number 10. You look up number 10 below here. It's a case of Iowa, Solberg versus Davenport. And you want to now go look up that court case, see what it says and how it relates to this. This statement could be out of context. Oftentimes, people are doing their own cases pro se. People in the freedom movement, people who are not trained in law or have not viewed a class of video like this on legal research. When someone gives them a quote from Corpus Juris Secundum, CJS, or other law digest, or a photocopy of it, will give this to you as a final authority that CJS says this. For example, there was a CJS that says that when you get an officer, when you get a lawyer, he's an officer of the court, and now you become a ward of the court. Okay, well, that quote is taken out of context. If you look up that court case and read it, you're going to get a better explanation of why that quote is taken out of context by people. Okay, so be sure to not rely on these law digests by themselves, what they say, but look up the court cases that they refer before you rely upon them. Okay, another one, famous one, is American jurisprudence, or AmJur. Okay, state and federal laws are in AmJur as well as CJS. Okay, this is second edition. From trust to unemployment compensation is listed here. Again, it's alphabetical from A to Z. Sets of books on the wall are there for you to look up whatever subject that you want. Very similar to CJS is American jurisprudence. They are, or AmJur, they are competitors of each other. Okay. In fact, the state version of that, many states have their own version. California does, is CalJur. CalJur used to be called California jurisprudence. Juris means law, prudence means, system. California system of law, but everybody got tired of calling it that long name of California jurisprudence. Everybody calls it CalJur, so now it's CalJur. Just like FedEx. Used to be Federal Express, but everybody now says call FedEx. Same thing here, CalJur. Okay, these brown sets of books. This is number 23, volume number 23, damages to death and generation skipping transfer taxes. Okay. The bigger states like California, Texas, New York, Illinois, they have their own sets of encyclopedia of law about the state. Smaller ones like North Dakota, Montana, do not often have that. Okay, so you want to use the AmJur and Corpus Juris Secundum. But if you're from a bigger state and you're dealing with state law, go ahead and use these tools. Because remember, most everything that in your lifetime you'll come across with the government is under state law, and state or local agency has jurisdiction. The county, the city, or the state. Federal government is a government of very limited jurisdiction. Okay, now, they write the statutes very broadly and try to find a loophole to obtain jurisdiction. Okay, but most everything from death, murder, to crimes, to divorce, traffic tickets, most things are under exclusive jurisdiction of the state government. The federal government has no jurisdiction whatsoever. So you want to look up things in the state law. That's where it's useful, and that's where it applies. To give you a classic example of states versus federal law, again, in the Oklahoma bombing trial, Timothy McVeigh was never charged with murder of the people, civilians, who died in the Oklahoma bombing, because that was under jurisdiction of the state of Oklahoma. Okay, the federal government charged McVeigh with crimes like destruction of federal property, okay, conspiracy to destroy federal property, things like that. And for those things, or murder of federal agents, okay, for those crimes he was convicted and was executed. For the other crimes, he technically, legally speaking, has not even put on trial yet. Of course, he cannot be now that he's passed away. Another interesting book is Words and Phrases. Okay, Black's Law Dictionary or other law dictionaries are the very basic book you want to look definitions in. In fact, could my assistant get a Black's Law Dictionary from the staff and library? They would give you it. I'll show it to everybody. Okay, but the Words and Phrases here is a sets of books that on words and phrases will give you literally more detailed explanation on a particular word. You could have pages and pages of annotations listing court cases. Here, for example, from Permanent Edition, okay, volume 10, from counsel to creditor. From these words are all here explained in detail. When I open it up, you will see for yourself, for example, okay, the word county purpose. Okay, the word county purpose. Once again, to recap, the Word and Phrases is a very useful book if you really want to know the definition of the word or how it is defined or applies in different cases. And this is one of the first books that I heard about in the freedom movement as to, you know, you can find this and that other. The word county, for example, you think the word county would be a simple one. Well, in Words and Phrases, the word county itself is several pages, and each page has 3 to 5 line explanations of what a county is in different contexts. Here's a short one. A county is a legislative corporation established as a part of the government of the county. That's a short one, okay? And they tell you all these longer descriptions. Here's another one. A county is neither an individual nor a private corporation, but is the political subdivision of the state. Okay? Doesn't mean that these definitions are contradictory with each other. It's just that, you know, in different contexts could be a different thing, you know, and apply differently. And a lot of times they really do say the same thing. Just different court cases talking about it. Okay? Here's another one I'm just picking out of this thing. What does it say? Okay, a county is not a corporation in an ordinary sense, but is an arm and agent of the state set up to perform governmental and political functions, and as such partakes of the immunity which inheres in state sovereignty. Okay, well gee, this one talks about sovereignty of the state, from lawsuits they're talking about. So there's so many aspects of a word or phrase or a subject that can give you a lot more detail. County officer, who is a county officer? You know, what kind? A treasurer, notary public, school district trustee, you know, different ones. And remember, the very first source that you want to look things up is your good old dictionary. Black's Law Dictionary is the standard. Black's is the name of the company, okay? A law dictionary. You can get this very easily at any bookstore, regular bookstores, you know, Crown Books and Bookstar and the other ones out there. On internet and Amazon, you can get it very easily. It's only about $30 or so, the price of Black's Law Dictionary. The 7th edition is the most modern version available now, and 2002 as this video is being made. The older versions are good. You're going to find that the 4th edition was the last one where they had a lot of good words were in them that they were taken out. They had a big major revision. They cut out a lot of words after 4th edition. And then after that, they started adding new words in there. A lot of new world order words were being added on after the 4th edition. I recommend that you have the newest version first, because that's what is commonly used today. If you want to have an older version, and 4th edition or earlier as a supplement, that's fine for research, for interest, but you're going to find the more modern version, the most useful one for you. Now, the law library is full of interesting, useful books. Let me introduce you to a few of them that I think you'll find of interest. For example, here is a book in a law library found of the liability of tax return preparers. Gee, did the people who do tax returns realize they have so much potential liability that here's a book, thick book on the subject, a book that is over 500 pages? Yes, there is a book on that subject by itself. So you're going to find on any different subject books out there that will give you a lot more detail. Here's another one I'm going to pull for you. This is called Tax and Financial Planning Strategies in Divorce. How about it? Did you know that you can have actually divorce can have tax and financial planning strategies? Yeah, they put books on that together, folks, for the rich people especially. Okay, this one is published by who? 2nd edition by Bruce Richmond. Okay, who's the publisher? Who knows? Some small company, some lawyer who specializes in this. they went to the publisher and said, look, put a good thing together like this. And he had a team of lawyers who worked with him to put this together. There are a lot of how-to-do books in the law library. Once you get through the stage of just looking things in the law library, which is the first stage you got to complete first. Then comes the fun part, is how-to-do material and research. There are many kind of digests out there. Digest is another research tool, just like Corpus Juris Secundum, Amjur. Okay, those books write essays, Amjur and Corpus Juris Secundum, about different legal subjects from A to Z with annotations, footnotes about court cases that back it up. Here, the digest, like the United States Supreme Court Digest, on subject A through Z, on any, it's like words and phrases. They give you Supreme Court cases about that subject and talked about it. U.S. Supreme Court cases. Sometimes they might even list, they also list state Supreme Court cases. There are various digests available on state law and federal law or combination. There's many of them available. So you can use those for further research on the subject. But the most useful kind of books, in my opinion, are the how-to-do books. You know, there are books there that show you how to use your computer. They call it like Internet for Dummies, right? Word for Dummies. You heard about those books? They got books on how to change or add water, oil in your car, how to fix your brakes, change oil, spark plugs, repair your car, how to do those things, right? How to fix your own transmission, how to fix your own engine on your car, how to rebuild them, okay, how to work on your struts on your car or shocks, or how to cook a food, how to cook Chinese food, Japanese food, Italian food, Mexican food, or whatever. There are how-to-do books when it comes to law as well. Here's one of them. Federal Procedural Forms. Okay, here's the front of the book, right? And also the spine, as you'll see, the same things are there. This book has forms, fill-in-the-blank forms, folks, as well as explanation how to do it. Isn't that nice? Look at it. Right here is a form. Fill in the blank. It says, in the United States District Court for, fill in the blank, name of the court, District of, fill in the blank, whatever division, fill in the blank. Plaintiff, put your name there. Versus defendant, put the defendant name there. Duh. Is that hard to do? No. This particular one, for example, is a civil rights section, is a motion, notice of motion and motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. Okay, under Rule 12b-6 of Federal Rules of Procedure. Boy, I've seen that a lot. And when you do civil rights lawsuits against governmental agencies, they do these 12b-6 motions. They're saying, as a matter of law, you cannot bring this lawsuit. It's not suable. It's immunity. The government has immunity or something like that, for example. So here is the motion, sample motion for these government lawyers use, fill in the blank. You know, please take notice that on, fill in the date, time, okay, or as soon as thereafter as the matter may be heard, defendants, fill in the blank, okay, police department and police chief, fill in the blank, okay, we'll move the honorable blank court, fill in the blank, but, it's all there, folks. Can you imagine? This is what the average person pays the lawyer. Anywhere from $150 to $500 an hour or more to do. A lot of it is to look up these fill-in-the-blank forms and then read the explanation about how to do it. Okay, and things to watch out for. What to do, what not to do, make sure things are done right, step by step. I'll give you another one. That's for federal law. Okay? I'm going to give you one from California and another one that relates to federal law. My favorite one in California is California Forms of Pleading and Practice by Matthew Bender. Okay? Matthew Bender's California Forms of Pleading and Practice. It's a set of books, okay, again, bookshelf of them, about 40 different volumes that tell you from A to Z how to do everything, from appeals, you name it, to this and that. This particular one, volume 2, is on adoptions to airplanes. What kind of a law can relate to airplanes? What kind of procedural stuff? Well, it's in here. Okay? And the booklet itself is tabbed. Check this out. Check out the tabbing, folks. This book itself got tabbed. If you relate to adoptions and natural effect, use this tab to here. The next tab is adoptions, terminations of parental rights. It's from this tab to the next tab. This much. See that? The next one is for adoptions of unmarried minors. There it goes. So, and then the forms here again. This book is full of wonderful fill in the blank how to do form instructions. It's all in here. Okay, they put the forms in here for you, and then tell you how to fill it out, and tell you what to watch out for. You know what's wonderful about these books? They are made, all of them are made for copying. You can actually open them up, okay, and take out these papers, okay, and copy them to all the blank forms. They're made up like that in a ring binder for you to do so, okay. And these are also available on CD from these publishers at cost more. Lawyers pay hundreds of dollars a month or more to have these various sets of how to do books available to them. So when they want to use them, they use that boilerplate form to fill it out and then charge you $5,000, $50,000 or whatever to do this particular motion, brief, pleading, or whatever. You can do this yourself, okay, and do very well at it. That's how I learned how to do writs of mandamus, how to do appeals, okay, different things by studying these books. This is another one. Matthew Bender's Federal Practice Forms, okay. Again, this one also has a similar fill-in-the-blank forms as well as instructions on how to do it. This applies to federal law. Many states have these forms of pleading and practice, step-by-step material in them. Okay? And here we go. Here's another form I just opened up to, for example. What is this one? This is Notice of Motion for Physical Examination and Certificate of Service. Okay? Okay, caption you got to put on there, which they tell you to do previously. To all parties and their attorneys of record. Please take notice that blank, name of moving party, probably you, will bring the attached motion for an order compelling a physical examination for a hearing before this court on such date at such time. Folks, it's all there. Okay? You can do these things yourself. You don't have to have gone through 3 years of law school full-time or 5 years of law school part-time, taking the bar exam to learn how to do these things. The average person can do it, okay? And eventually you can learn these things and you can be better than a lawyer. As I've said before, I've had lawyers who've been my clients, you know, about tax matters and other, especially taxes. They don't know about law either, okay? And they haven't learned these legal research tools in the law schools necessarily either, because the law schools traditionally do not emphasize legal research, okay? What they emphasize is reading court cases and discussing their importance, their variation, and court case reading is what they've done. Okay. Now that you have seen what the law books look like, you know what the citation is, we're going to move on to the next section of the program. What we're going to do...
The library will close in 1 hour at 10 p.m.
Is we're going to
At this time, we will be shelving books. If you have books that you want to save, please let us know. You may help us by shelving case books, code books.
What we'll be doing is taking you to the bookshelves and putting some of these bookshelves, not all of them, on the bookshelves. I want to show you what the bookshelves look like. I want to show you what a part of the inside of a law library looks like, so you get familiar with, when you walk in a law library, what you can expect. Okay? And then we're going to show you also the computers, about legal research on that. So we're going to go off the record and come back, and when we come back, we're going to show you what the bookshelves look like in the law library. It's pretty long. Okay, we are in the law library itself, trying to keep the volume low so we don't disturb the patrons in the law library itself. But I'm going to put back in the shelves this calendar that you see right here, this book. But before I do, I want to ask our cameraman to step away to show you the law shelf that this belongs to. See how many volume of books actually are there. As you notice, from one corner to another, all these brown books are Calger. And those blue books with the blue and red books you see in the middle of them, that's a third edition of Calger that's come out recently. Okay, until a few years ago, there was only Calger set in this one. It's the third edition. All the books here you see, it's over 100 books. Okay, it's California jurisprudence, these sets of laws. Okay, and they're all numbered. As you notice, to start right here, volume 1. Okay, and volume 2. Now here in this library, what they have done is they have several sets of the same book. We have, I believe, they have 3 of them here. Because it's so popular, such a popular set of books, they find out that by having several of them, if someone else wants to have the same book, they don't run out. So they tend to do that here. So it's not really as big as it looks here or there. It's actually 1/3 as big, the real sets of books. About, maybe I believe it's about 60. This particular one is number 23. Well, let's see, well, 25, 26, 27, all is here. 24, 23 right there. So if you notice, it's all numerically following each other. And I guess, obviously, based upon this, they have, looks like 2 of everything. Anyhow, it's all right here. And that's how you find the bookshelf. You need to find the right bookshelf. Ask a law librarian, where is your Calger? Where is your U.S. Supreme Court reports? Where is your, USC, USCSs? And they'll tell you where it is. You find the right bookshelf, then you go to the volume number, and look it up, and then open up the book to the right page. Okay? Let's go now to follow down to the other part of the library. Here. Okay, so here we are in another section of the library where they have the Federal Register. If you look right here behind and next to me, all these white booklets are the Federal Register right here. And then also going below, down below, Federal Register is right there. There's 2 whole bookshelves right below. You'll see down here, okay, of bookshelves. Now, and there's more. In fact, here, this one only goes back to your January, November 2000. So from January of 2000, okay, all the way to present day, this video is being made February of 2002. For 2 years, all of these books. Can you get on Mr. Cameraman, can you get all this stuff in there, below and on the top? We have been given legal notice of all these laws that affect us, and we're supposed to know about them. Yep, unfortunately. So here's this one that goes back in its place. This one was Friday, December 28, 2001. It goes right here. Okay. What happened to the older ones? This law library is a federal depository institution, which means that the federal government, in order to make sure that the public is given notice and notified of these laws, certain law libraries throughout the country, in major metropolitan locations, there's about maybe 100 or so of them, they give these to them, paid by the federal government, to make it available to the public if they need to look it up. It's available to the public. As well as now that the internet, of course, is around, it makes it irrelevant because anybody can go on the government's website and look it up. But before that, it was very important that these be available to the public for them to see for themselves. Now we're going to move over here, and I'm going to show you the Code of Federal Regulations. Look at these burgundy color set of books. This is all the 50 titles or categories of Code of Federal Regulations, row after row, starting from Title 1, Title 50. I'm going to pull out Title 26, the very first one, right here. So the very last one. So it goes out to the very end. From here, all these books. It goes down here, all the way down to here. Those are all the regulations that apply to, for example, Title 26, the Internal Revenue Code. Okay? All that. Almost takes up a whole row of bookshelves, just about. So, you gotta, when you find the books, you just find the right set of books first and get the right number. For example, suppose you're looking for Title 7, section, part number 1904. That would be right here. Take a look at it. Please come close, Mr. Cameraman. This is Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, Title 7. Notice the numbers are right here. Okay? And this, which is agriculture, part 1900 to 1939. Well, what I want, part 1905, is between these two. So this is the one I need to get. And they're actually pretty easy to use once you know how to use them. Now I'm going to move on to the books of U.S. reports, the court cases of the U.S. Supreme Court. Now here, look at this. From here, all these books in here, these hand-colored books, are U.S. Supreme Court cases. Okay? Almost at the very end of these bookshelves. However, the interesting thing about it is that the books, they do not go all the way down to the very beginning of the first one. The very oldest book that they keep up here is volume number 330. Check this out. October term of 1946 of the United States Report, volume 330. Okay. The older books here, they keep them downstairs. Okay, in the storage area, so they don't go bad. You know, the paper after a while gets old and with overuse. People who usually don't look up older cases, but they will get them for you if you ask them. So just because the law library doesn't have all the books up here doesn't mean that it's not there. The possibility is that they keep them down in the basement, because they don't have enough room upstairs here to put all the books. So here, for example, in the Orange County Law Library, the U.S. reports, United States reports, are from the year 1946 down to present day are here. So the book that we pulled out as volume 465, which is right here. In this library, you get U.S. Supreme Court cases are so much sought after for people to read. This law library buys 2 sets of them. Many law libraries have only one, if at all, of any book. But here, this law library in Orange County, California, is such a big one, and it serves a metropolitan area of close to 3 million people. We got 2 sets of these books available for the members of the public. Now, if you go down here to this section here, you notice the very last book that they have here is volume 529, October term, 1999. Okay, this was the very last one of the books that so far the U.S. government, as of now, February of 2002, has put the books together. Before that, when the cases are newer, they'll come out on a regular basis every few months, okay, on these kind of soft-bound cover books. These soft-bound cover books, after a few years, then they turn into hardcover books, and the soft-bound are thrown away. All the state Supreme Courts of Appeal do the same thing. The court cases are first come out in newspaper format type of thing, in newspapers like legal newspapers like Daily Journal. Then they're published by in these kind of soft cover booklets. Okay, and in these cover booklets, soft cover booklets, after a few years, they're thrown away since the hardcover books are out, and you want to use that. Okay, we're going to take a break and come back and show you more law books where they go.
Hang on.
You mean okay? Okay, here we have the California codes, and you'll see just only a portion of them here. This is the vehicle code, which I'm going to put back, section 23,100 through 34,499. It goes right here. So if you look at this, it's on public utilities, revenue, taxation, rules of court, streets and highways. It's all alphabetical. You know, D vehicle code, and then the section, vehicle code section 1 through 5599, 21,000 through 23099. It's all numbering. If all the system, it's very easy to use actually. Okay. So let's go, and I'm gonna put back these other books. Okay. Here we are. I got in my hand the United States Code Service, USCS. The bookshelf board look just like the book. Look at the shelves right here. Here we are, the black books with the blue and gold writing. Some of the prettiest law books, quite frankly, in my opinion. And here it is. They have 2 sets of them. They really are not that big. In this library, you have 2 sets of them because they're so useful. And here we are. We got Title 26 here in my hand. It goes right here in this empty spot where it belongs. Put it back here now. If you can get a little closer for us, you'll see Title 26. Okay. Here they have for Title 26, they have only 1 set of them. This is all the Internal Revenue codes. Okay. Title 26, all of them. Okay. The 2000-year version. Okay. And they're all listed here. Okay. So the next book I have here for you is the Federal Reporter. Behind on this side, you see Federal Reporter. This is all the federal courts of appeal. And let me tell you, this entire row of bookshelves is only part of it. On the entire side of the other side, there's more, and there's more downstairs, and they could not even fit down here. Okay, it's in the basement. Here it is. I just put back volume 838 of the 2nd series of the Federal Reporter that we used earlier. It goes back in its place. Okay? See, there's so many of them. The numbers are so large. Now we're in the 3rd series. As of right now, volume 267 of the 3rd series is out. The original series is out. The 2nd series is done. Reached their number 1,000, and then it started it again. So very, very useful set of books. You just gotta find out where the books are. Ask the law library, wherever you have the Federal Reporters, they'll show you, and then you just follow the numbering system. Get the right book, open up the right page, the code section, court case, whatever you want, it's there. Easy to find. Anybody can do it now. Okay? Now we're gonna go back to the recording room and some finishing comments. Well, you might want to follow this. Okay, ready, Chris? Okay, now what you want to do is actually use the law library. In this class, I've showed you how to use the law library, but if you don't, you've done yourself a great disservice, my friends. Okay, you see, you can take a horse to a water, but you cannot make it drink. And here, the situation we have is, we showed you how to use the law library. We recommend that you find the local law library near you. If you got the book, How to Use the Law Library by Halt, which Freedom Law School provides you, and usually you have it in your course material. If you got any of our packages, you very likely have it. In the back of that, there's a listing of law libraries across the country. You can go on the internet on search engines and put up law library in your city or county, and they'll come up. Okay, and go there and try and look it up stuff. Some of the sites you've come across on the internet, legal sites about this or that subject, look them up. If you got yourself a book, a friend of yours, neighbor of you gave you something, look it up. Sometimes you find that your friends or neighbors or internet people make claims that there's no legal citation at all. Well, if there's no legal citation at all to back it up, then guess what? It's probably worthless. And we recommend that you do not rely on it when there's no legal authority given for that claim. Okay? But if there's a legal authority given, then you want to go look it up in a law library, read it carefully, and make sure you understand it. Use your dictionary if you need to. Law dictionary as well as regular English language dictionary to make sure you understand what you're reading. If you're not sure, get a second opinion from someone else. Okay? At Freedom Law School, we're available to assist you further. In our level 2 course of Freedom Law School, we show you how to do legal research and advanced skills on how to use a law library. In this class, you learn the most important thing. What is a legal citation, and how to look up anything in the law library for yourself. If you just accomplish that, you've done yourself a great service. Let me tell you, at Freedom Law School, we do have few refunds, rare, less than 1% refunds. However, guess what? I found that better than 90% of those refunds take place because people do not take the time to look up the claims of Freedom Law School or other organizations that they come across for themselves. Okay? They just believe in someone else because it sounds easier, sounds better. People often want to stay out of the government's jurisdiction or be out of the system, or all kind of wishful thinking, tooth fairy Santa Claus theories which have no basis in law whatsoever. So when we tell them that they have to learn a little bit about the law and the rights and legal procedure, they don't want to bother. When someone offers an easy silver bullet process, sure, they go and plunk their money down and try it out. So it's very important that if you want to make sure that you don't get yourself in trouble, fall on the wrong advice, okay, that could cost you literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, or your liberty perhaps, by misapplying the law, that you know what you're doing. And take a little time. Take 2 hours aside, one day. 2 hours is all you need. And go to a law library in your local area and look up a few things for yourself. I think you'll enjoy it. You found the experience very rewarding, very fruitful, and very empowering. Okay? And afterwards, please share this wonderful knowledge with other people. Let other people know how they can become master of their own destiny by knowing what the law is, knowing what their rights are, knowing how they can find the proper procedure to assert their own rights to live free, because the knowledge is there and they know how to grasp it. So with that, we'll end this class. I want to thank again the staff of the Orange County Law Library for making this facility available to Freedom Law School to record this class. And if you'd like further information, you can reach us at our website, www.livefreenow.org. Thank you, and hope you listen to the next tape of our course as well.